Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakacarya Ashtotara Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Samsthapakacharya His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. This morning we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 22, titled The Marriage of Kardama Muni and Devahuti, texts 37 to 39. What is on the board does not have a purport. So I'll read text 37 along with translation and purport, and then we'll read text 38 and then we'll read text 39, which is on the board. Text 37, śārīrā mānasā divyā vaiyāse yacha mānuṣāḥ bhautikāś katham kleśā bādhante hari-saṁśrayam. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Therefore, O Vidura, how can persons completely under the shelter of Lord Kṛṣṇa in devotional service be put into miseries pertaining to the body, the mind, nature, and other men and living creatures? Purport. Every living entity within this material world is always afflicted by some kind of miseries pertaining either to the body, the mind, or natural disturbances. Distresses due to cold in winter and severe heat in summer always inflict miseries on the living entities in this material world. But one who has completely taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord in Krishna consciousness is in the transcendental stage. He is not disturbed by any miseries either due to the body, the mind, or natural disturbances of summer and winter. He is transcendental to all these miseries. Text 38. Yaha prishto munihibhi praha dharman nana vidan chuban nunam varnashramanam cha sarvabhuta hitas sada. Translation. In reply to questions asked by certain sages, he, Swayambhuva Manu, out of compassion for all living entities, taught the diverse sacred duties of men in general and the different varnas and ashramas. Then we come to text 39, which is on the board. Etat ta adi rajasya manuṣāḥ charitam adbhutam varnitam varnāniyasya tad apadyodayam śrinu. Etatta ādirājasya manuṣāḥ charitam adbhutam varnitam varnāniyasya tad apadyodayam śrinu. Etatta ādirājasya manuṣāḥ charitam adbhutam varnitam varnāniyasya tad apadyodayam śrinu. Etatta ādirājasya manuṣāḥ charitam adbhutam varnitam varnāniyasya tad apadyodayam śrinu. Tatta ādirājasya manuṣāḥ charitam adbhutam varnitam apadyodayam śrinu. Tatta ādirājasya manuṣāḥ charitam adbhutam nitam varnaniyasya tad apadyodayam shrinu etatadi rajasya manuṣāḥ advatam varnitam adivyāyasya adorasano yasyadi rajasya taritam advatam varnitam varnaniyasya tad apadyodayam shrinu etasya adijajasya manuṣāḥ advatam varnitam varnaniyasya padyodayam shrinu. Etat, this, te, unto you, Adi Rajasya, of the first emperor, Mano, of Swayambhuva Manu, Charitam, the character, Adbhutam, wonderful, Varnitam, described, Varnaniyasya, whose reputation is worthy of description. Tat apatya, of his daughter. Udayam, to the flourishing. Shrinu, please listen. Translation: I have spoken to you of the wonderful character of Swayambhuva Manu, the original king whose reputation is worthy of description. Please hear as I speak of the flourishing of his daughter Devahuti. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 3rd canto, 22nd chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Marriage of Kardama Muni and Devahuti. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shlakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Caitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Caitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Nama Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Jayapataka Swaminiti Namine Nama Acharya Padaya Nitai Kripa Pradayine Gaurakatha Damadaya Nagragramatarine Nama Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Gopi Paranadhanadase Tinamine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So in the purport to text 37, Srila Prabhupada writes that one who has completely taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord in Krishna consciousness is in the transcendental stage. He is not disturbed by any miseries, either due to the body, the mind, or natural disturbances of summer and winter. He is transcendental to all these miseries. So, when we read a purport like this, Okay, before I begin to speak, I would like to seek the blessings of all the venerable superiors here. There are several of them that I see here. So I kindly seek your blessings so that I may be able to speak something which gives everyone pleasure. So when we read a verse like this, that someone is not disturbed by any misery, either due to the body, the mind, or natural disturbances, summer and winter. So, which means no adhyatmik, not disturbed by adhyatmik, adidevik, or adibhautik miseries. So that's a very exalted stage of consciousness. And so it is said that one who has taken complete shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord in Krishna consciousness is in that transcendental stage. Now, this could give a measure of what is the level to which we have taken shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would say that we are drawn to the attractions and repulsions of this world to the degree of intervening distance that is there between us and the lotus feet of Krishna. Now, normally, to close that intervening gap is extraordinarily difficult. The living entities have to practice over millions of lifetimes to come to that stage of absorption in Krishna consciousness. However, in this age, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu advented and made this process of absorption in Krishna consciousness freely available to everyone. That is the unique gift of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, that he made this absorption in Krishna consciousness freely available to everyone. And that process of absorption in Krishna consciousness has been transmitted through his followers. Therefore, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur again, he says that there has never been and there will never be such benefactors as the followers of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. So, in the parampara of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, we have great acharyas, and Srila Prabhupada, our founder acharya, taught us that our process of Krishna consciousness is acharya upasana, which means that we worship the lotus feet of all the acharyas. And Srila Prabhupada also taught us in his books, what does worship of the acharyas mean? It means to follow their instructions. And all of their instructions have been presented to us by Srila Prabhupada through his books. So for us, Acharya Upasana means not just doing the Guru Puja daily, but also to daily engage with the transcendental literatures that Srila Prabhupada has given us. When I say engage with the transcendental literatures, it means to get direction from the literatures how to conduct our lives in Krishna consciousness. The books of Srila Prabhupada or spiritual literature in general are very different from ordinary literatures. Ordinary literatures are just a source of information. But here we are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, and it is explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam in the first canto. Krishna swadhamau bhagate dharmagyanadibhiha saha kalo nashta drishamesha puranavarko adinoditaha. So this Srimad Bhagavatam is non-different from Krishna. And Krishna is never alone. Srila Prabhupada always taught us that. So therefore, in the Bhagavatam, you find Krishna along with all his associates. So the Srimad Bhagavatam that we read today or any day is Krishna himself. Krishna himself. So Krishna himself along with his associates. And this is what Srila Prabhupada has given to the whole world, making Krishna and his associates freely available to the whole world. So when we engage in reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is we are coming directly in touch with Krishna. And when we follow those instructions, then we make advancement in the process of Krishna consciousness and come to this transcendental stage. Srila Rupa Goswami in the Nectar of Instruction, he speaks, the very first verse speaks about tolerating the urges of the body, mind and words, which is kaya, vacha and mana. So that is what Rupa Goswami speaks about, and there he speaks about tolerating the urges. So anyone who tolerates the urges is qualified to make disciples all over the world. It speaks about toleration. That's very important to understand. And Srila Prabhupada writes that the Nectar of Instruction is the first book of instruction for the neophyte devotees. And the very first verse speaks about tolerating the urges of the mind, body and words. And Srila Prabhupada explains that one has to become a Goswami. And there in the first, the purport of the first verse, he clarifies that this process of becoming Goswami is not for the sannyasis alone. Every member of the Krishna consciousness movement is meant to become a Goswami. And so every member of the Krishna consciousness movement is meant to control the urges of body, mind and words. And we also find in the prayers of Srinivasacharya to the 6 Goswamis, there he explains Nidrahara Vihara Kadi Vijito. So they have come to a platform, they are not having to tolerate their urges, they have conquered over the urges. Nidrahara Vihara Kadi Vijito. Vijito means not tolerating, they have conquered over the urges of the body, mind and words. So Nectar of Instruction begins with that of tolerating, but it ends with prema. According to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, this Nectar of Instruction, it traces the path from Shraddha to prema. So when one comes to that stage, then one is free from the natural disturbances of from the disturbance of Adidevic, Adibhautik and Adhyatmic miseries. However, the goal is not to become free from these miseries. The goal is absorption in Krishna consciousness, and by virtue of absorption in Krishna consciousness, these miseries vanish. Now, what does it mean to become absorbed in Krishna consciousness? Srila Prabhupada has explained throughout his books what it means, and all of us know it. However, in the in Prahlad Maharaj in his prayers, he gives a very beautiful analogy to make it very simple for us. He says that if you decorate yourself, the ladies maybe will understand this better, and stand in front of a mirror, then you don't need to decorate the mirror image in the mirror separately. The very fact that you are decorating yourself and standing in front of a mirror is sufficient for the mirror image in the mirror to be decorated. So Prahlad Maharaj gives an analogy to teach us that if we sincerely render service to Krishna, Krishna takes care of us. We don't need to take care of us separately. So Krishna also says that Yogakshemam Vahamyaham in the Bhagavad Gita. So this is a fact. This is a fact. And this is what Srila Prabhupada came to teach us. And if we study the history of how the Krishna consciousness movement was established, then we find the greatest lesson in that was how the disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, were completely absorbed in His instructions. They did whatever He asked them to do without any sense of what will happen to me. It was only about what did Srila Prabhupada want. So that absorption in Krishna consciousness was what successfully established the Krishna consciousness movement across the world. Of course, it could also be said that sometimes that absorption was fanatical. Definitely, there were elements of fanaticism in the sense that whatever Srila Prabhupada explained was not fully followed, and in that sense it was fanatical. But the principle of trying to follow everything that he said was definitely not fanatical. The application of it may sometimes have gone wrong, but the principle was valid. The reason that I bring up this point is that in a recent visit to a temple, I saw what I never expected would ever happen in the Krishna consciousness movement. I saw a book table with probably, let's say half, for giving the benefit for the doubt, half with Prabhupada's books and half with a set of books all about self-help, written by devotees in the Krishna consciousness movement. So I didn't know how to react, and that's when I began to reflect. We have gone from one state of absorption to we are gradually progressing to I would say not progressing. What do you call that? No, not. What is the opposite of progress? Regressing. Yes, regressing. Okay. I got the feeling that we are regressing from what Prabhupada taught us into something else, and my anxiety was, would I see a day where Prabhupada's books would be 1/4 and this would be 3/4? And all this has happened because devotees, who've written these books or whatever, who have studied our movement, have had this understanding that we have neglected ourselves. So now is the time to refocus on ourselves. However, the process of Krishna consciousness is absorption in Krishna, and there is what Prabhupada teaches is the right absorption in Krishna. Absorption in Krishna could also be negligence of one's duties, but that's not the kind of absorption that Srila Prabhupada teaches us in his books. For example, here we are reading the marriage of Kardama Muni and Devahuti. So we see how very nicely Kardama Muni executes his duties as a grihastha. He does not say, oh, I was a practicing yogi, now that I have fallen down, I need to get out of my fall down. So that's not the attitude which Kardama Muni adopts. In the history of a Krishna consciousness movement, transitioning from a brahmachari to a grihastha was historically, probably even till today, in some pockets, it's considered as a fall down. But it's actually a progression. As Srila Prabhupada explains in the purports to the Gajendra incident, Gajendra and the crocodile, Prabhupada says that one should be situated in that place where one can find strength to fight Maya. So Prabhupada does not characterize Grihastha life as a lower standard or a license for sense gratification. Rather, he characterizes it as being enthusiastic or being in a position to fight Maya. So for every state of conditioned existence that we are, there are perfectly relevant instructions in Srila Prabhupada's books. So the principle is that we should find ourselves in a place of strength where we can be enthusiastic to fight Maya. So again, Prabhupada keeps the focus always on that the Krishna consciousness movement is meant to be a war on Maya. And you can take care of your situation in such a manner that we are able to fight the war enthusiastically. So if you notice what is happening there, throughout his books, he speaks about being situated in a very good situation so that we are able to fight Maya properly. This is called absorption in Krishna consciousness. Now, the problem that I've noticed with devotees who read all these self-help books, the more they read, the more they seem to be getting more and more entangled because it's all about me. Because all these books are about you or about us. It's never about it's not never about Krishna. Let me put it like this. It's about you, about us, then about Krishna. So what happens is that just like a silkworm weaves a cocoon around it and gets trapped in that cocoon, so devotees often get into this whole thing. I need to do this, I need to do that, I know that. And that is unlimitedly complicated. I've studied physics in the university. So in the history of when they studied the atom was considered to be a very simple thing. Protons, electrons, neutrons and all things. But then with time they realized that it's highly complicated. It's not as simple as similarly in biology, they thought that the cell was something very primitive, very simple. But today we understand that the cell is more complex than a city. So like that, it may appear very simple. Oh, we just have to take care of ourselves. These books will teach us. But the problem is exactly like this. It may appear very simple, but the more we get drawn into that, the more we get entangled with self-absorption. And that destroys Krishna consciousness eventually. So, the point is absorption in Srila Prabhupada's books. And what is that absorption? Srila Prabhupada explains that, or Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains that those who have life will preach. Those who have life will preach. Which means preaching is the symptom of life in Krishna consciousness. Because of all the religious traditions in the world, we the Gaudiya Vaishnavas are the only spiritualists who are worshipping a God who is anxious. Because God by definition is free from anxiety. But we are worshipping a God who is anxious. What kind of a God is that? It is Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. And what is his anxiety? His anxiety is that there are so many souls who are suffering in this material world, and these need to be delivered. And he's saying, please help me. So we have a God who's anxious and who's begging for help. So therefore, if we just understand this is the mission of the Krishna consciousness movement. The mission of the Krishna consciousness movement is to deliver the whole world. That is why Srila Prabhupada, at a very advanced age, in his 70s, he went to the West, endured all the hardships. He was completely transcendental, as they say, to all the miseries. And he did whatever it took to establish the Krishna consciousness movement. And he said that it would be my glory if I die preaching like how Arjuna died. I mean, like how Arjuna had the opportunity to fight. So Prabhupada said that I would like to die fighting, preaching on the battlefield of Maya. So this is what we have been entrusted with. The members of the Krishna consciousness movement means each one of us has to contribute to delivering the world. That is called absorption Krishna consciousness. So we have a mission that it is not that we just make our lives perfect. Let's just think about how to make our lives perfect and go back to Godhead. Simultaneously, we have to think, we have been given this great gift by the Acharyas, specifically by our founder Acharya, who has brought this gift to us. And it is his mandate that we save the world. We contribute in saving the world. And this is the kind of absorption Krishna consciousness which makes one free from all these miseries. That is a fact that if you if you go out on book distribution or engage in activities of the Krishna consciousness movement, preaching activities of the Krishna consciousness movement, then we see as a practical result that our ability to tolerate the miseries become significantly higher. Significantly higher. In fact, Prabhupada's absorption in the mission of his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, was so extraordinary that no one can imagine the kind of difficulties that he went through. It's difficult to even imagine going alone in a ship, free passage, multiple heart attacks, living in a Bavary. Even before that, before getting into all these things, living alone, going to Delhi, getting gored by a cow in summer, unbelievable. And even later on also, Prabhupada just was focused on that mission of his spiritual master. So he said that he got that inspiration from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, that when he read Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's purport to Vyavasayatmika Buddhi verse of the Bhagavad Gita, he said that he took inspiration from there, that one should take the instructions of the spiritual master as one's life and soul. So he just stuck with that. And therefore we see the result. And when Srila Prabhupada is present on the planet, he created a certain kind of fervor in Krishna Bhakti. And we can, not just those who are physically present, but even those of us who read those pastimes of Srila Prabhupada also get caught up in that fervor. This is called Krishna Bhakti Shakti, which Srila Prabhupada came to give us. And today is the birthday of or appearance day of Lochandas Thakur. And interestingly, Lochandas Thakur in his book Chaitanya Mangal speaks about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu declaring that the commander-in-chief of his of his army, the commander-in-chief would come. And we know that commander-in-chief to be Srila Prabhupada. That's why Srila Prabhupada would always speak in terms of war on Maya, dropping bombs. Books are like the bombs and things like that. Because He is the commander of the transcendental Sankirtan army. And Prabhupada actually taught us by his example that how by being absorbed in Krishna consciousness, one can be completely indifferent to the happenings in one's material life or what happening in one's life in general. That we could see that Srila Prabhupada demonstrated that principle of apratihata bhakti, a bhakti which cannot be interrupted by material circumstances. In every circumstance, Srila Prabhupada continued preaching. He was preaching even from his deathbed, as they say. You know, that it's captured on video also. You can see how I don't know if those were the last words, but then you could see, at least in the video, those were the last words that you could see him speaking. Every moment, what do you say? Okay, every action, every moment in this world is happening with the supreme desire of Krishna. This consciousness is called Krishna consciousness. So Srila Prabhupada taught us that till the very end, and he continued preaching, giving his Bhaktivedanta purports. So this is the kind of glorious life that Srila Prabhupada has come to give us, the absorption in Krishna consciousness. In fact, the phrase Krishna consciousness, Srila Prabhupada took it from Rupa Goswami, Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Mati. So from that expression, Krishna Bhakti Rasa, that consciousness which is saturated with Krishna Bhakti Rasa, that consciousness is called Krishna consciousness. So consciousness which is saturated with Krishna Bhakti Rasa, and Prabhupada explains in the Nectar of Devotion, Rasa means juice, and then he gives the example, just like in summer we like to eat mango. So like that he says, so this is also a kind of taste, and this no taste can ever compare to the taste of Krishna consciousness. So it's Krishna Bhakti Rasa. And Lochandas Thakur in his song Parama Karuna, he explains this, that Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu has come to give us a process which is Kevala Ananda Kanda, which is simply a process of enjoyment. And Prabhupada in his purport to that song, he says, what do you have to do? Just chant and dance. That's it. So it's a very transcendental process, a process of absorption. And of course, Prabhupada would also use very, very interesting expressions to the great transcendental adventure, colonization of Sankirtan. He always had that spirit of fighting against Maya. So Srila Prabhupada gave us a process which is so full of life, so full of joy, that if we could just decide that I just want to follow somehow or the other what Srila Prabhupada has given us, then it is a fact, it is a guaranteed fact that our lives would, as Lochandas Thakur says, be filled with happiness, Kevala Ananda Kanda. And if we are absorbed in that state of consciousness, then these the miseries of this material world become very insignificant. And recently I was just having a conversation with a devotee and about visiting the place of Narottam Das Thakur's disappearance, which is in India, just about 1.5 hours from here. And so then she asked me, is this a place where where Lord Chaitanya deposited his prema? That's a different location geographically, but it's the same river though, and that's in Bangladesh, where Lord Chaitanya stored prema for the future Narottam Das Thakur. So then I just, I just had this conversation yesterday. Then I knew that I had to give this class today. So it just occurred to me that, how fortunate we are, because Srila Prabhupada referred to the Bhaktivedanta purports as his personal ecstasy. So just like Krishna, when he left the planet, he left the Bhagavatam for us. So when Srila Prabhupada left the planet, he has left his books for us, and which he said are his personal ecstasies. So the Bhagavatam is the manifestation of the Bhaktivedanta purports. His books are the manifestations of Srila Prabhupada's Krishna Prema. So just like Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu left Prema for Narottam Das Thakur, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada has left his Krishna Prema for all his followers. Anyone who wishes to drown in this Prema has this great opportunity. We just have to pick up the books and read them and get drowned in Krishna Prema. Thank you. If there are any comments or questions. Yes, sir.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for bringing this vital concern, and it is a question for all of us also. So, my question is, like, we all must have experience, at least I have the experience, like we temporarily many times transcend those miseries, threefold miseries, and when we are actually fully absorbed in the service. So, but there is always a chance that we fall in that cycle of regression, which leads to some of the instances like you mentioned of Prabhupada books versus books about self-care. So, like for example, I have seen in my life as well as many devotees like book distributors who neglect their health, but at that time they were fully absorbed in that seva and they were getting the taste. So sometimes they don't take care of their food, water, and later they fall into a situation that then they are not able to render that service, and what to speak of getting that bliss and pleasure. So what we should...
Again, Srila Prabhupada's own life is an example. He was very regulated. And the idea is that we need to take care of our body for serving the Lord. The focus is on serving the Lord. And that is where I think is the fine line. So one can take care of the body thinking that this is good for me, but we can also take care of the body thinking this is good for the service of the Lord. So I think that's where the difference is. If one takes care of the body, just like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the state of consciousness is very important. Like Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaks about mānasā deho geho jokichumor arpilutuva pade nanda kishore. So the consciousness is that, first of all, it is not my body. It is Krishna's actually. So again there, even when you think about it, we can always think in terms of how it is Krishna's, right? So the problem is that if we start thinking in terms of, how do you say, it's like, okay, it may be more easier for us to understand that we are not the body, but it may be more difficult to understand we are not the mind. Because quite often what happens is that there is some feeling which goes through our mind and we think we are feeling. It's so strong, it's just almost immediate. We are feeling. But it's not we who are feeling actually, it's the mind which is producing something. It's not us. So sometimes we feel guilty or not guilty, thinking, oh, the thought is coming to mind. But the point is, first of all, we are not those thoughts. We are not those thoughts. It's got nothing to do with us actually. So that's why the word responsibility means the ability to respond. So first of all, we should not identify with the mind's attractions and repulsions. It'll come up with all kinds of justifications for all kinds of things. So we should stick with the fact, look, I need to take care of my body, or rather Krishna's body. It's not even our body. As Prabhupada once wrote to my spiritual master, Srila Jayapatak Maharaj, this body is not yours anymore. It's a spiritual master's body, because he stepped on a nail and got hurt. So it's your spiritual master's body. So if we develop that state of consciousness, then we'll remember that when we need to take care of the body, it is for the sake of seva. So taking care of the body for the sake of seva is legitimate. I think that's where the state of consciousness is very, very important. Just like Prabhupada, he was very regulated. He would go on his morning walk and he would eat food on time and things like that. But what was the purpose? Purpose was to carry out his Guru's mission. So if we follow in his footsteps, then definitely will not be misled.
I have a question that has nothing to do with taking care of the body.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for the class. We read some texts back where Kadamba Muni was praising Swayambhuva Manu. And in his description, he said, you have created an atmosphere over the whole earth where people living in that atmosphere are just becoming peaceful and drawn towards God. It was a wonderful description. This is the emperor of the human race. Now, this emperor and every other Manu, they go through 71 yuga cycles. So in all the other Kali yugas, I have no idea what they do. Other than this Kali Yuga where Lord Caitanya personally, Radha and Krishna combine and he comes down, the other 70 Kali Yugas for the current Manu, I have no way of knowing what they do in Kali Yuga. I don't know if it's not a fair question, because you may not, know where to even find this information.
Yes. We have only
but
this.
There are 71 cycles that they're ruling.
I don't know the answer either. Just that we have the scriptures, what we have. Even the Mahabharata, we have only 100,000 verses. But the heavenly planets, they have 10 times more than 10 times that. So, Krishna Upamataji.
Thank you for the class, Prabhu, and very nice to see you again. I just wanted to, speaking to the point the brahmachari, I think, was saying.
Yes.
Brahmachari, yes. It's interesting because when we were as disciples of Srila Prabhupada, and we were all very young, most of us were maybe 20, some were even younger. There may be 2 or 3 who were in their late 20s, but we're all very young, and as you correctly pointed out, Prabhupada's word was our life. So we would sacrifice anything, do anything to follow Prabhupada's instructions. But we didn't really have any more senior, except Srila Prabhupada, of course, but more mature, aged or experienced devotees to guide us. So in our present ISKCON, our present society, we're very fortunate because we have the very young and now we have the elderly. So my suggestion would be that the younger devotees, they confer with the more experienced devotees and say, well, this is my program. What do you think about it? Because we don't want to mollycoddle ourselves, but at the same time, we also don't want to be, irresponsible in caring for the body that Krishna's given us.
Thank you for bringing up that point. That's very relevant, because we have a whole body of experienced devotees in the Krishna consciousness movement now, and it is important that we take advantage of the experiences that they have gone through, because they can teach us what to avoid and what to do things, how to do things right. Yes, Ruji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for a nice class. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu preserved Krishna Prem in Padma River.
Padma River.
So, very beautiful, we surprised, very beautiful to hear this. And at the same time, we surprised that the same place, the hatred and violence coming out. How and why?
Violence is happening in that place. Well, even during Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time, India was not, India was ruled by people who are not favorable to the Sanatan Dharma culture. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sanatan Goswami himself, he had to free from the jail and things like that. So, as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would say to Srila Prabhupada in his first meeting, these political situations keep coming and going, but Krishna consciousness is more important. So, even Lord Chaitanya as God, he really never gave any attention or importance to it. He just continued to preach the Krishna consciousness movement. I think that if we keep the focus on that this is a more urgent priority. And if God himself didn't bother about it, so, because that's part of the work. Of course, if somebody has a responsibility in the government, then they can do something about it. But for us to sit and think about it, we would spend our time better thinking about how to become strong and spread the Krishna consciousness movement.
Another small question, that you told that the book table. Nowadays, so many Prabhupada disciple and grand disciple, they're writing and publishing books.
Okay.
And previously we saw that some writer, some devotee, they try to solve our controversial point and or tension about something, some philosophical point.
Okay.
And GBC, they smash them or they banned their books. So my point is now GBC, they're watching the books, the more publishing.
Not really. We don't have something which, there's no monitoring entity or anything like that. But something which is directly going against Srila Prabhupada's teachings, that of course is being not allowed. But otherwise, there's no entity or something which monitors what comes out. But if one reads Srila Prabhupada's books first, carefully and thoroughly, then one can know by oneself what is actually helping me to understand, follow better, and what is taking me or what is confusing me. Okay, so I think I'll have to stop here. It's 9 o'clock. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande.